Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Free Minds Thrive podcast. My name is Bobby Vincent, and I'm your host today. And I want to talk to you about a topic that is really important, and for me, something that's affected me personally, and that I have personal experience benefiting from as I improved this, and that is sleep. Really good sleep. Now, some of you out there have really bad sleep. You might be getting no sleep. Some of you out there are getting amazing sleep, or you're getting what you think is good sleep, and you're finding that you still wake up and you're tired. So you're actually not getting very deep, restful sleep, are you? So sleep is really important when it comes to confidence, and that's why I want to talk about this today. Because without good sleep, you could wake up every day and have a foggy mind, so you're not clear about what you're doing and why. You're probably not going to be as intentional or focused on the things in front of you because, of course, you're tired and all you're thinking about is how you want to lay your head down and get a nap, lay your head down and get some rest. And of course, while sleep is really important, it's not something that you want to be thinking about all day thinking about, I need to sleep. Oh my God, I need my bed. Oh man, I need to get home later and go to sleep. I need my bed so badly. Why did I stay up late last night? Or why did I go out drinking with my friends last night? Or why did I X, Y, or Z, right? And so for some of you, you have some idea why your sleep isn't that great or isn't as great as it should be. And for some of you, you have no clue. I imagine you're listening to this episode either because you came across this podcast and you're just listening to the episodes one by one, or you specifically came to it because you saw the word sleep and sleep for confidence. So if you're seeking confidence, you might be thinking, what does that have to do with sleep? Well, of course, as I mentioned, if you wake up every day and you're not clear and you're not focused and you're not intentional, you're going to have a hard time being confident. Because if you're not thinking clearly, you're going to have a hard time thinking confidently about the things that you're doing. Because while confidence comes from a variety of aspects of your life, including, of course, your experience and your past history with doing things that build up your confidence so that you are by default a confident person, for some people, they're confident in some things, but not confident in other things. And one of the underlying factors there is your health. And your health, of course, is affected by your sleep. Partly. There are many other things that go into health. But oddly enough, if you are in good health, you probably get great sleep. And if you are not healthy, you're probably not getting great sleep. And why is that? Because it doesn't start with the sleep itself. It starts with the health. Because it's the things you're doing to your body and in your life during the day, or even leading up to sleep, that affect the quality of that sleep. And of course, during sleep, your body is repairing itself and refreshing itself. Your body is reducing cortisol, so you're not as stressed during the day and stuck in fight or flight mode all the time. And so it's the things you're doing during the day, interestingly enough, that are affecting your sleep at night. Well, Bobby, how are you so sure about this? Are you a sleep expert? I am a little bit of a sleep expert, yes. And the reason, unfortunately, is because I dealt with sleep problems for 2 decades, all self-induced. I was doing things during the day, but especially at night, that were hurting my sleep. Now, in my 20s and even my 30s, I was able to deal with that as best as I possibly could, and I just powered through it. But as I got deeper into my 30s, I'll tell you, man, that lack of sleep starts to affect you. Especially when you have a career, you have a child, you have responsibilities, you have big dreams and hopes and goals in your life, and you really need that sleep. And I kind of wish I realized that earlier, but those 2 decades really added up. Now, really quick as a side note, I've actually always performed very well in my work and in my life at home, and generally speaking, a very calm, cool, and collect person who has my head on straight, and I don't really feel that the lack of sleep affected so much of how I act in the world, but at some point it actually did add up. So even if I was super Bob for so long and dealing with sleep and still getting through my life fairly well, eventually it got to a point where it actually was kind of disastrous because it culminated in absolute full-blown insomnia. I'm just being totally open with you guys because, first of all, you're going to be wondering, how are you able to speak on this topic confidently? You're not a sleep doctor. I don't believe that's even true, that you need to be an expert in a field to understand it well. I know some people who are not quote unquote experts in terms of formal education and formal experience who know more than some of the experts on topics. And part of that might be due to their open mind and the way in which they researched the areas that they were studying or looking into. But that's definitely a talk for another day, where we can talk about how a regular, everyday person can be as much of, or even more of an expert than an expert. And I definitely want to talk about that. And that's kind of what I consider myself here, because a lot of doctors, even though you should, of course, talk to a doctor, get your levels checked, check your underlying health conditions, and even work with a doctor if your sleep is starting to affect you in certain ways that really need that expert guidance and opinion. You know, mental health and all that is very, very important. And you don't want to find yourself in a place where you are not supported the way you need to be supported so that you don't hurt yourself or others. And that's a real thing. All right. But generally speaking, as you're doing your own research and determining for yourself what the right course of action is to improve your sleep and which paths you want to take to try to improve it, because you're going to have many options before you, especially if you're talking to a doctor, it's worth noting that someone like me rejected everything the doctors were telling me, or nearly all of it, because it just wasn't in line with, first of all, my general principles on health, which is that I prefer to do things naturally and not take pharmaceuticals. So that is a personal choice that I live by, generally speaking. And if I can do something without taking a pharmaceutical from a laboratory that a doctor prescribes me, then that's the way I want to go. Part of that being that I've never had great luck with pharmaceuticals, and I've watched and observed other people who take them for various things, and it either doesn't help completely, or it helps for a very short amount of time, or seems to help, and then leads to, many other problems. And then they're taking pills for other problems. So you end up with pills upon pills upon pills, these mountains of pills, all because you first started taking that first pill. And that's just not my style. It's not how I roll. It's not how we do things in my household. You might be different, and that's okay. And I respect that, and you should respect, my opinion. And I would certainly be open to conversations around why anybody out there who's listening to this feels that pharmaceuticals are a good thing. But for me personally, it's better to try natural first. Let's leave it at that. So when it comes to your sleep problems, before you go jumping into pills, why not try things that might improve your sleep naturally, so that you can be confident every day and you can thrive every day in your life and not feel like you're barely getting by, which is how so many people feel for so many reasons. Here's the great news though. So many of the things you'll do to improve your sleep will also improve your life in so many other areas, because it turns out that the things you can do to improve sleep are the same things you can do to improve health, to improve relationships, to improve feeling happy and feeling good about yourself. And so what we want to talk about here that's really, really important are all those things you can do. So let's jump right into some of the things that you can consider to get better sleep. And I want to start it off with my journey briefly, so that you can understand a little bit about how I came to some of these ideas, and remembering that I didn't just come up with these ideas and put them on a list and say, hey, I think these things might work. These are things that have helped me to actually get better sleep. So they are things that I believe can help many of you get better sleep. So my story goes a little something like this. For about 2 decades of my life, from my teenage years onward, I spent a lot of nights staying up later than I should, going to sleep at all different hours. And in that staying up late time, I generally was writing on my computer, working on something, researching something, doing work, or playing video games, or watching TV, or several of those at once, thinking I was multitasking. And in reality, I was just absorbed in screens at night. And the thing is, even though I was fully functional, or at least as close to fully functional as you could be during the day, I was really beating myself up on the back end inside and not realizing it. And eventually, when some kind of stressful situation started to arise in my life, and I had to deal with some abnormally stressful circumstances, at least for my life, my body couldn't handle it. My body couldn't handle it. And it kind of broke down. Now, I didn't break down emotionally necessarily. I kept things together the best that I could, but I was anxious about the sleep because I remember that it started with just really, really, really bad sleep at night. And then it started with not being able to fall asleep right away. And then it led to just not being able to fall asleep at all night for many nights into several weeks. And this was rough, man. This was like it was a wake-up call for me. It was a wake-up call. Because I wasn't choosing voluntarily to improve my sleep. I kind of needed to be forced into it because I did not want to live like that. It felt awful. I could not think clearly. I had a headache starting to develop. I couldn't think clearly. I wasn't confident in myself when normally I'm a very confident person. And, I take great pride in my ability to be confident in myself, to maintain an open mind, a curious mind, and at the same time be confident in the things that I believe in. I take great pride in it. It's probably one of the things I'm most proud of. But during this particular time of getting no sleep at all, it really had an effect on me. And, I could have went one of probably two, maybe even more different ways, but the two that I saw was I can keep kind of spiraling into this dark place of no sleep and anxiety and questioning everything about myself and my life, or as I try to do with so many things, as I tell my clients to do, as I encourage all of you to do, I stepped up, I took action, and despite the fact that I could not think or see clearly, I don't mean visually see clearly, I just mean see clearly in my thoughts and in my vision for things I had to do, somehow I had enough clarity to get through it and figure out what I needed to do and not bend and yield to a doctor saying, why don't you try these pills? Maybe they'll put you to sleep. And I'm really proud of that because there was no guarantee from anywhere. There was nobody telling me, hey, if you do this, this might work out for you. I didn't really get many guarantees from almost anywhere. I was lucky enough to find an ebook that gave me confidence that, hey, you could do this. And that was cool. Probably a book most people have never heard of, but I happened to find it and it had just some of the right messages in it that kind of move me along and say, okay, you could do this on your own. You just, it's going to take some time, but you can get out of this and you're going to be all right. And, in some ways, I think like most of the bad things that happen to people, in some ways that suffering that I went through, that challenge that I went through, actually kind of made me a better person. Isn't that always the case? It's kind of a sad, tragic, sick thing to recognize about the world, that the pain and the suffering leads to stronger, more confident, more resilient people. And yet we hide so much from pain. I mean, it's understandable you wouldn't seek out pain. Except you see people at the gym working out really hard and, loving the pain. So I guess, yeah, in a way you do seek out pain. But, I would never say somebody should voluntarily get full-blown insomnia so that they get better sleep. I wouldn't say to do that. But I would say that whatever your problems are in life, see them as an opportunity to grow and get better. Obviously, if something's bad and something's wrong, something's not right and you need to do something about it. And who else but you? Unfortunately, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody could do it for you. And you have to also do it yourself so you can prove to yourself that you got this. And when I say do it yourself, I don't mean actually do it on your own with absolutely no help and support. I had support. I had my wife while I was going through the sleep problems, and she was being very patient with me, and I appreciated that. She didn't understand it, but she was there to support me, and so I was grateful to have that. My mother was there supporting me and saying, you'll be all right, you'll get through this, you'll figure it out. And the more I heard other people saying it and sort of reflecting my previous confidence back onto myself as I was not so confident, really helped me out. Because it reminded me that, of course I can get through this. I've gotten through so many things in my life. Some things which would have brought other people down. Some things which do bring other people down. And didn't bring me down, made me a better person. So even though I'm going through this thing, I can get through it. I know I can. Yeah, my wife's telling me this. My mom's telling me this. And my little daughter, she's looking at her dad and she's thinking what he can get through or can't get through is showing me what I can get through or can't get through. So of course, I needed her to see that daddy can get out of his funk, because I didn't let her know too much of what was going on at the time, and I don't want her getting anxious about sleep. and thinking about things she shouldn't be thinking about. So, I tried to keep her out of that. But she did see that Daddy was acting a little different. It was a little funky. I'm not going to lie. I was in a funk for sure. And she had to have noticed it. She's a very perceptive kid. That led me onto my journey of recovery from insomnia. And that led me to many realizations about sleep and the importance of sleep. And I'm not going to mince words here, guys. Like, sleep is one of the most important things in your life. It's one of the most important aspects of your health. And it shows you the state of your health across the board. Because all the other areas of your health, from what you're eating and your nutrition, to your daily habits and your lifestyle, to the supplements you take, to the way you treat yourself, to how you move and work out or don't move and work out, to your relationships, to whether you're in the right career and you have too much stress and you're taking on too many things and you have money problems, all those things are the things that lead to losing sleep, right? Because you're stressed and you're anxious, whether physically, emotionally, spiritually, or several or all of those. So it does show you where you're at when it comes to your health. And so improving your health and improving your day life and your night routine is going to make things better. And I'm going to spend the rest of this episode talking to you about the specific things that I did that worked. All right? You might have tried some of these, you might not. You might want to, you might not. You might not care at all, but you're just here because you're curious. Whatever it is, wherever you're here, even if you don't have sleep problems, but especially if you do, I recommend giving these a try. And if for any reason any of these require you to have a chat with your doctor first or whatever the case is, then go for it, right? That's on you. That's your responsibility. And all of this information is for educational and informational purposes only. And I don't say that as a mockery. I say that as a public service announcement to all of you out there to do your due diligence and do your own research, but to remember that I speak from experience, not from a book. All right? So let's start with the most important things. One of the first things I started doing was going outside and getting more sunlight because I understood the effect of blue light on the body's wake and sleep cycles. And that cycle that the body goes through, wake, sleep, wake, sleep, wake, sleep, relies very heavily on its alignment and being in tune with the sun. The sun going up and the sun coming down. Up and down and up and down, bright and dark, bright and dark. And it sounds crazy because it sounds too simple. But your biological health in many ways is very simple. Don't poison or toxify your body will work right. Give your body the right nutrients, your body will work right. Get good sleep, your body will work right, right? So getting sun during the day, some nice bright sun during the day, and then keeping things dark at night, your body will work right. So I started going out every morning to get first morning light because I realized I was spending a lot of time in my home office, which was very dark, working on building a new business that I had started at the time. And in working on that business and really putting myself all into my screen to build the website, build the this, build the that, research this, research that, find clients, find customers, modify this, modify that, emails, Excel spreadsheets, all sorts of stuff. And I was all in on my screen in a dark room and I wasn't getting sun. I was in my dark room with limited artificial lighting during the day and then working into the night because I just needed to work, build. If I wasn't hanging out with my family or doing something I had to do, I was working. And at that time, a lot of that work was through my computer screen. Even now, it's very computer heavy, but I have ways of working around that. So, I'm in the people business, but a lot of the modern world is virtual now. So I'm able to access more clients and customers through my computer screen, in addition to meeting people in real life. So during that time when I was spending so much time at my computer, I was not getting enough sunlight. And that was starting to affect my body's awareness of when day and night were. In addition, I was staring at my screens bright as they were at night. And that was confusing my body about when day and night were. And eventually my circadian rhythm got really screwed up. And I'm assuming my melatonin production wasn't right. And that was it. The system collapsed. Now, that wasn't the only thing, but I knew that my way out of it was to get more bright light during the day and to have less light at night. So now I try my best to turn my screens off leading up to bedtime so that I have some time in low light before I go to bed, thereby telling my brain that it's time to produce melatonin. I decided after trying melatonin supplements, quote unquote supplements, that melatonin is not good for the body. I did research, of course, but I just wanted to try it. And I tried it for a while and it did not work. In fact, I think it hurt my sleep. And so it was definitely hurting my melatonin levels because, as my understanding is, when you take melatonin supplements, your body's natural production of melatonin goes down because your body says, wait a second, I see melatonin in the blood. That melatonin is there, so I guess I don't have to make as much. And then your body starts making less. So that if you stop taking the melatonin pills, now your body's not making enough, and now you need the melatonin pills, or you think you need them. I discovered that your body can start producing more melatonin again if you treat it right. And as I got more sun during the day, first thing in the morning, and as much as I could in the evening and in the middle of the day, given the fact that I do work, and many of you work as well, and then at night, turning the lights down, that eventually my sleep started improving. So that's one thing I would do. The other thing I started doing is pairing earthing and grounding whenever I went outside. So I planted my feet on the ground, socks and shoes off, planted my feet on the ground while I was looking toward the sun. And I still do that to this day because it was such a powerful element, or at least coincided with the improvement of my sleep, that I associate it with having benefited my sleep. And I don't want to stop doing it because I don't want to stop getting better sleep. So now that I get better sleep than I ever have, or at least have in a long, long time, I don't want to lose it. So I keep doing the things that work, or the things that I think work. And that was one of them. So I go outside and I earth, and there's a whole bunch of science around earthing, and I would love to talk to a guest about earthing someday and share with you what I've learned as well. But for now, you should just know that earthing helps with sleep. Earthing helps with your mood. Earthing helps with inflammation and health. And so there's really nothing to lose standing outside barefoot for a few minutes while you're getting some sun in your face. And so give that a try. I also, of course, increased certain supplements that apparently help with sleep, but I didn't want to take some of the weirder herbs and things that, and I say weird, in your diet, you would get plenty of things like magnesium and other micro and macronutrients. So I make sure that I eat a healthy, nutritious diet. Nutritious is the key. Not just a healthy diet that fills you up, not just calories. I mean a healthy diet in terms of a highly nutritious diet that has a lot of nutrients in it, so that you don't really need supplements as much, and so that you feel fuller longer and don't need snacks in between meals. Also, you don't need snacks at night. And so a highly nutritious diet is something that I started to work on and do more research on in order to understand what that even meant, higher nutrition. And also started taking supplements for things that we just don't get enough of in our diet anymore. Things like magnesium, which are crucial to sleep and restfulness, and several other things as well. I started taking electrolytes. Not electrolytes like, a sugary energy drink. Electrolytes in pill form that are the basic electrolytes your body needs. And I also started taking animal organ pills. Yes, I'm not kidding. Animal organ pills, because I learned how nutritious animal organs are, things like liver, and I didn't have direct access to liver, or at least didn't know where to get it. So I started with these pills that are basically freeze-dried animal organs, and I imagine somewhere in the improved and more nutritious diet, the essential supplements of minerals and electrolytes and whatever vitamins and minerals are in animal organ pills, that in the mix of that, all these things that I determined to be potentially better, more nutritious intake of food and nutrients, they all helped me. And so what I'm not telling you is I'm not advocating for exactly what I did is exactly what you should do. What I am saying is that increasing my meat intake, my egg intake, drinking plenty of water with electrolytes and minerals, and doing all these things helped me. Maybe they'll help you too. But you got to look into it for yourself, and you got to figure out what works for you, because everybody's situation is different. Everybody's body is different. You know yourself better than I do. You know if your diet is actually working for you or not, if you're being honest with yourself. and you have to explore what the possibilities are. But definitely look at diet and especially the nutritional aspect. Make sure you're getting all the things your body needs so that it can properly sleep, and also so it can properly give you energy during the day. Another thing that was really important is I had to give up caffeine, and I loved coffee. I still love coffee. I'll drink a decaf once in a while to enjoy myself, but generally caffeine is pretty bad for sleep. And most people are drinking caffeine too late into the day, and it is impacting their sleep. So I would look at your caffeine intake and determine if that's something that may be affecting your sleep. As well, alcohol will affect your sleep. And so even though I was not an alcoholic or even a very social drinker of alcohol, from time to time, if I did have alcohol, I just want to be aware that I'm not overdoing it, right? Just have a little bit and then move on with my life. And really, for me, I prefer not to drink any at all. So I really just prefer no alcohol. At this point in my life, it's not benefiting me in any way. Many times it's not fun. It doesn't feel good the next day. And it definitely affects my sleep. So I prefer not to drink it. So if you drink any more than even a tiny bit of alcohol, you probably want to rethink how much of it you're taking in. And there are other things too, like very sugary foods and junk food and late night snacking and things like that will all affect your sleep in some way. So it's important to look at your habits and determine which ones you could experiment with modifying that don't put you at risk in any other way, and then see if that improves your sleep. Another thing that I did was I really honed in on my nighttime routine. I made sure that it was relaxing. I made sure that it was the same every night. I made sure to start my nighttime routine at such a time that I can get to bed at the right time. Because a lot of people don't realize that in addition to the routine is also going to bed at the right time. Every body is a little bit different. But if you really think about it, there's a time when you have this very strong urge to go to sleep. That if you were to just lay your head down at that time on the couch or on your bed or on your partner's shoulder, that you would probably just crash. But many of us power through it. We turn the TV on, we fiddle on our phones, we get involved in some kind of activity, we go out and hang out with our friends late. Whatever the things are that you're doing, depending on your life and your activities, some of us push through that time when we would pass right out. And when you power through that, you're missing possibly the best time to go to bed, which is the time that the urge is the strongest and the time that ensures that you get a very strong start to your night and that you get plenty of hours to sleep with a strong sleep, with plenty of melatonin in your system and plenty of that sleep drive, or that sleep urge, as I call it. And that was very important for me to identify, because now I don't go to bed too late. And when I do go to bed too late, I regret it. But I know now that I generally need to get to bed around a certain time, and that if I do that, I'm going to fall asleep fast and stay asleep longer. And there's one more part of the nighttime routine that I want to talk to you about, and that is putting your final thoughts to rest on paper before you go to sleep. A lot of us go to bed with a lot of our thoughts in our brains at the end of the night. Those thoughts stay in our mind and bounce around and keep us awake. And if we wake up in the middle of the night, they keep us up and we can't fall back asleep because our brain starts activating. Well, one way to get past that is to just write those thoughts down in a journal or a diary or on some little notepad, just to get them out so that you know you don't have to work hard at night. So your subconscious knows it doesn't have to keep thinking. Because when you wake up in the morning, all the thoughts will be there waiting for you on paper, and that really did help me. So you can give that a try as well. And one final piece of the puzzle, my friends, is to focus on your day life. To focus on making sure that you know what your passions are and that you're engaging them. That while you're awake during the day, you're doing things that make you feel positive and hopeful about your future. That you're doing things that have a purpose, that make you feel like you're here for a reason. And that's why one of my favorite things to do is think about my legacy. What legacy do I want to leave behind someday, and make sure that I'm working toward that all the time, because it gives me a purpose and it gives me specific goals and action steps that I need to work toward. So when I wake up, I have a plan, I have a purpose, I have a mission, I have a focus. And when you have that focus during the day and you stay active all day and you're doing things and you feel great about yourself, you're making sure to take plenty of opportunities to laugh and smile. Well, that's going to make you a happier, healthier person overall. And yes, at night, it's going to make you a little less anxious. It's going to make you a little more confident going to bed with a smile on your face and being relaxed. So you can wake up the next day and keep being awesome and keep working towards your greatest legacy, with confidence. I appreciate all of you being here. I hope you'll follow the podcast here. I hope to see you here and on other platforms. I hope you'll get out there and keep building your awesome legacies. Take it easy.